What's going on, everyone? I'm having a bit of a dilemma in regards to the upcoming Scream film. So, I want to present this dilemma to you, hear your opinion, and have a discussion per usual. So, make sure you join it down in the comments below. And while we're here, hit that like button. It helps me out a lot. It lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notifications, join this awesome community, and enjoy some of these Scream discussions with the rest of us. So, my dilemma is in regards to Sidney Prescott in Scream. The sort of consensus is that she will be outside of Woodsboro and thus something will cause her to return. Now, it is presumed that she will be living in the home that she lived in Scream 3. There's no evidence proving otherwise at this time. And the only reason she was in Woodsboro in Scream 4 was to promote her book for the book tour. So, I've made the suggestion that she could possibly, in this 10-year gap, have returned to Woodsboro by now. I mean, it would have been 25 years since the original attack, the Scream 4 thing, who knows, that's up in the air. But even when I made a video discussing that, again, the consensus was, no, there's no way she would be sort of this plague, this, dark omen, dark cloud hanging over the town of Woodsboro. Okay, well then that's where my dilemma lies, because she's going to be outside of Woodsboro, and something significant, something impactful would have to bring her back, because another ghost face attack isn't going to be enough to draw her out of hiding. Even if she saw it on TV, that's not my concern. I don't live in Woodsboro. That's not my thing. And it's presumed that she's not a target. Even if she's not the main character in this film, let's say she's not Ghostface's focus, what would be the reason for her to return to Woodsboro? Especially if it's not a sort of setup to draw her back in. And I don't think she would return for something like a Scream 3, with the photos and stuff. She would know immediately that that is a setup. And that's why I said it would make so much more sense for a movie standpoint, a lot less explanation if she's already in Woodsboro. But if she's not, then that really only leaves one option. Somebody that she truly cares about, somebody significant, has to die. Well, sorry, backwards because we're on camera. These two. So, unless Dewey and Gail die early on in the film, which we know Gail has scenes later on, but we haven't heard anything about Dewey. So I think he's as good as gone, in my opinion. But the only way that she would return to Woodsboro is if one of these two die. She has no more family. She has no one that she really cares about. Granted, there could be somebody in the last 10 years, but even then, you have to have a backstory. You have to have an explanation. And, Martha is in this film. I get that. But Sidney doesn't have those ties to Martha that she would to probably draw her back in. I mean, yes, Martha is Randy's sister. But if Martha was killed, then, is she really going to go back to Woodsboro for somebody that she doesn't really know? That her tie was Randy, but her sister, you got to think, in Scream 1, she would have been 12, maybe 13. Because in Scream 3, she was 16. So Sidney was already long gone by the time she was 16. By the time Sidney ran into Martha at in Hollywood, Sidney was already long gone. There is no real connection. There is no real tie. And we don't even know if Sidney even really knew much of Randy's sister. I mean, yeah, Randy was Sidney's friend. Like, they were friends and stuff and acquaintances. But, like, she had so much going on the year before with her mother and everything going on with Billy and the other friends and Tatum and Dewey. Who's to say that she was ever even around Randy enough to where Martha's death would be significant? Not just that, but did they really introduce Martha and her children just to kill her off in the beginning? Because to me, that wouldn't make any sense. Why even introduce her at all? Like, why even have her come back and her children, nonetheless, be in this film if you're just going to kill her 10 minutes into the film? It's not a character that is impactful. It's not a character that has any meaning. especially to an audience standpoint, because the only acknowledgement we've ever had of her was a little 10-minute plug-in in Scream 3, which she was really only a part of like 2 minutes of that, because a majority of that was the Randy tape. So what other ties, what other significance would be able to draw Sidney out of hiding, assuming, or even if she's not hiding, let's say she's not, let's say she's a big celebrity because of her book and stuff. What would make her go, you know what, I have to return to Woodsboro? Like, what in the world would draw her out other than a Dewey and Gail's death? And so that's sort of my dilemma. Like, if Dewey doesn't die in the beginning, or Gail doesn't die in the beginning, how do you introduce Sidney into this film? Unless she's already living in Woodsboro, or Dewey dies. That's the only way that I see this playing out in this upcoming film. Because again, Judy, she didn't even know Judy. You know, she didn't know any of those people. And, you know, unless one of the other kids are randomly her kid, but even I made a video on that. But even that, like, people are like, that's silly, I don't want that. Okay, so then let's remove that. That means literally the only options that I can think of, at least, and if you can think of more, again, join the discussion down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. But the only ones that make sense, that would be logical from a character and movie standpoint, is that Dewey dies, or she's already in Woodsboro. Now, could they make it be that Martha dies and Sidney returns for that? Absolutely, because you have the tie to Randy. You look at it as like, okay, well, yeah, it's Randy's sister, we understand it. But if you really think about it in a logical sense, it makes none. Because she has no real significant ties to where she would want to endure that again. Unless she wanted it to be, because Martha's death, if it was at the hands of a Ghostface, she would immediately know it's happening again. Am I really going to put myself at the center of this again because of Martha, who I haven't seen since she was 16, that we know of at least. You know, maybe she saw her 10 years ago when she went to Woodsboro, whatever. But realistically, she probably hasn't seen her in 15 years, 20 years at least, you know, if not longer. And who says she has any ties? So that's my whole thing. Unless Dewey dies, or they stage it, like, let's say Dewey is set up, or to a death, and it's not, and it doesn't appear to be a ghost face. Let's say it's just a gun to the head or something. You know, like, they have said that Ghostface is going to be sort of creative. You know, he's going to get off the knife. Well, depending on how you would kill Dewey, could be a way to get off the knife, because now you stage it as if it's not a Ghostface killing, and thus it's easier to draw Sidney out of hiding. But even then, the only logical person that could die would be Dewey, because again, Sidney has no family. Her dad's dead, her mother's dead, her cousin, her aunt, everybody, all of her boyfriends have died. Everybody she's ever cared about and loved is dead and gone, except for Dewey and Gail. Those are the only two that she really has that is of significance. So that's just where my dilemma lies. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, I'd love to hear your opinion. As always, this is a discussion. I just don't know, like, do you really kill Dewey 10 to 20 minutes into the film? Like, that's sort of where my idea lies, because, you know, is Dewey really going to die that early? Because let's say he isn't the opening scene. Are you not going to introduce Sidney into the mix? Like, yeah, you can maybe plug her in, you know, have like little scenes with her in her life outside of Woodsboro, but eventually she's got to be in the mix of everything. So at what point do you introduce her to that mix? And let's say it's 30 minutes in. Like, so then Dewey's dead 30 minutes in, and now Sidney's involved. It's just something that's kind of bothered me, and I've kind of given other suggestions, and everyone just has this same thought process, which I do too. I'm not saying that like I'm not a part of that. I said in the beginning, like I've made videos from day one when I started doing Scream videos on that. Sydney would be outside of Woodsboro and something would cause her to return. But then I really started thinking about it. And as I did more videos and had more discussions, I really started coming up with the logical thought that, like, wait a minute, there's really only two options. Like, she's either in Woodsboro or something, or one of these two die in order for her to come back. Because other than that, there's nothing significant enough that would draw her back in. Because anything else she would know would be a setup, and any other deaths would be insignificant to her. Why would she care? Why would she risk her life and get involved again just because, somebody she doesn't really know the last 25 years died? Like, yeah, it would suck, but it's like, it's time to move on type thing. But anyway, if you haven't liked the video, hit that like button. It helps me out a lot. It lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, again, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Join all these wonderful Scream conversations we have in this community, and I will see you all in the next one. Thank you.